Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mariner of Spirit. This is a great opportunity to mention one or two small things pertaining to what we're trying to do with the shows. And the first part is going ahead and trying to keep a certain pattern and consistency to what we're trying to tell people and how we're going about it. And I know that there's a great deal of sincerity as far as the people that usually watch the shows. So I feel comfortable with mentioning that. And when we go ahead and we talk about coming on here, it's something myself, I feel comfortable with, and I feel like we're sort of building up some sort of rapport between myself, my guests, and you people in the comment section. This is an entirely different show than the Wednesday show, and that's a good thing for me because I don't need to do that more than the allotted time that we do on Wednesdays. But before I bring on my guest, Sherilyn Cotter, I want to go ahead and mention the people I support. And number one, it's Autographs. It's a charity that was established by Tim Miley, and it's for the money he makes at these events. He started out a long time ago, and he has these events now that are like almost like mini Paracons, where he brings his own speakers in, and he does a great job. And all the money that's collected from these events goes to animal shelters, rescues, that sort of subject matter. And him and his wife, I want to say her name is Lauren, I think. I haven't said it enough this last week, so if I'm off, I'm off. I apologize. But that's number one. Number two is PKC, Paranormal Kicks Cancer, and it's Chris Goskowski and Alex Wilkinson. They're from down in Florida, and they do events. They do haunted houses. They do events at different locations, all the way up. Last time I talked to them was up in Tennessee at Old South Pittsburgh. So, I mean, they've moved around considerably. I don't know. I haven't talked to them recently, and I'm going to have to, because I like to keep in touch with the people that we like. And the third one, if you see them, say hello, please. And the third one is the Jessica Petrie Foundation, and that's a resource for expecting mothers and families of pregnant women with mental illness. And that was formed by Jessica Petrie's father, Howard Petrie, who was the founder of the Paranormal United Network and now Paralinx. So that's another great foundation. And if you get the chance to go ahead and give to any of those people, please do so. And last but not least, I always like to mention my authors, are the people that I really think a lot of. One of them's on here tonight, but she's in the middle of the list. And if I go to her first, I'll never remember what the other ones were. So I'm going to start off with Bruce Holliday, Tobias Wayland, Adam Benedict, Kathy Kressel, Barnaby Jones, Sherilyn Cotter, Dr. Heatherly Langdon, Lynn Monet, Ron Iacovetti, Victoria Munday, Tony Rathman, Natalie Jones, Patty Negri, Sylvia Schultz, Amelia Cotter, Rex Nielsen, David Sloan, and Christina Bloom. And I'm probably going to go ahead and add a few on after we get done for the next show. So without further ado, I want to bring my guest in. Sherilyn's been on the show before, and she's always been a great guest. And here she is now. Here's Sherilyn Cotter. I keep on going Cotter.
Cotter.
But, it's great to have you back.
It's good to be back.
How has everything been going?
Pretty good.
The winter's mellow?
Oh, it's so windy outside right now. We had 70 degrees, and then it went down to like 40, and it's supposed to be 40 all next week. I don't know what happened.
Wow.
Somebody forgot to tell them it's springtime,
Yeah, I do want to talk to you. Remind me to talk about location after the show tonight, because I have my grandson's going over to a college over in Michigan. So
okay.
And it's interesting because I plan on going over and doing some muskie fishing over there. But anyway, it's some of the things that probably a lot of the people that are in the chat now that are coming in. One of the first things that I can remember was, I was around you quite a bit when you were over by the Staffords, and you had your spirit box and everything. And we'll get into spirit boxes a little later on, but that's when I think we first really met. And then we did a couple Paracons where we were close together, and Christopher Halton was there. Mm-hmm. And he's for the people that don't know who he is, why don't you first of all, let's do it right. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know a little bit about yourself, and then mention who Christopher Halton is, because you know him more than I do.
Well, I'm a psychic medium, remote viewer. I'm an explorer, researcher, an author. And I like to go to lots of haunted places. And one of my favorite places was Bachelor Grove Cemetery. And that's how I got to meet Chris, because he came over from the UK and he wanted to do a documentary on Bachelor's Grove. And I says, I know all about it. So we did a documentary.
How was that? How did it turn out?
That was quite interesting. I got a lot of things on my recorder. We went to certain spots and we could smell perfume. There was no perfume there. I wish I could have got my guy on the other side of the fence to talk to us like he usually does when I go there. There's a guy with a lantern on the other side of the fence, and if you walk away and you're not talking to him, he yells, "Hey, get back there." You'll hear right in your ears, "Hey, get back there." And I remember the first time I went there, I wanted to see who this guy was. I was there with my sister, and I says, I'm going to go see what that guy's doing over there with that lantern. here's me. I'm just going to walk over there. I don't know who this guy even is. And so I walk out of the gate and I start going down the path, and I stopped and I go, I saw a farmhouse on the left side. And I said, I thought there weren't any houses here anymore. And I didn't know about these stories before I went there. And there was a farmhouse. It had a little front porch with a rocking chair. And there was a light in the window. I says, why are all these people having lights on when it's 1:00 in the afternoon? And so I turned around to tell my sister, I go, hey, look what I found. And I looked and it was gone. Now, I didn't know that was one of the hauntings that happens there. There's an appearing, disappearing farmhouse, and there's a man in the woods with a lantern. So I saw both of them.
When you go into the entrance,
I did get a picture of the lantern in the woods, but I didn't have anything with me when I saw the house.
okay, when you saw the lantern in the woods, were you through the gate going into the cemetery?
No, I was in the cemetery. We were looking at all the broken stones, trying to see the names on them.
Okay.
And we went over by the fence, and there were some really broken. We couldn't read those. And my sister said, well, let's go walk around, see if we can find something else. And when we turned around to walk away, we heard a guy yell, hey, get back here, really loud. And I swore it was a person standing there. And I said, who was that? And then I saw the lantern. And I snapped a picture.
Were you facing the highway
No.
when you came in?
No. It was not the highway. No, this is something people see. They see the lantern.
Okay, because that's where that slender man hangs around in the corner of the fence, which would be in the northwest corner.
He would be on the side where the creek is.
Yes, well, that's on the south side.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have the west side is the side where the
house is.
main
The house, yeah, the house.
Right.
And when I went there with Chris, I never went farther down the path. So I went with Chris, and this other guy was with us, and we start walking down the path, and I saw that it was the dried up creek, and I said, well, there's no way there could be a house there. That's where the creek is. So that doesn't make sense. So then the guy says, do you ever go down this path? And I says, well, I come here by myself, so I don't usually go down the path in the forest preserve by myself, even though I go to the forest preserve by myself. So we start walking down there, and all of a sudden, we're hearing tree knocking. And I said, what? And he says, what's that? And I wanted to say, it's a Sasquatch, but he probably wouldn't know what it was, right? Right? I didn't say what it was. And I kept listening, and you could hear the knocking. And he goes, somebody's chopping down a tree. I says, no, we're in a forest preserve. Nobody's chopping a tree. And that wasn't an axe. It was somebody hitting the tree. Now, he's called the country gentleman. He always wears a suit when he does his documentaries. So I was wearing a dress that day. If I would have had my jeans on, I would have took off down the side there and going to see what could see into the brush there, because you couldn't see, but I couldn't go down there because I had a dress on. And I says, who's there? And then it stopped. Well, that was weird. So we went a little further, and we got to the edge of the path, and we found a big tree structure.
Wow.
So we turn around and we start coming back. We got to the same spot, and there's the tree knocking again. And I wish that he would do his editorials, voices over when he gets back to do his film, but he was talking, ladies and gentlemen, there's the tree knocking again. But if you listen to the video still on YouTube, you could hear the tree knocking when he's talking, but I go, I wish he wasn't talking. But you could hear the tree knocking. And I go, there it is again. And then all of a sudden it stopped, and something walked between us. We couldn't see it. It smelled so bad. And it walked through the dry creek bed and up the other side of the path. What it was, I don't know.
It's interdimensional, right?
But or he was cloaking. I don't know. But that
That's
was a strange.
so. In other words, the direction, the side of the cemetery is the one where the base to the monument was that the Madonna was sitting on.
Right. That's right by the gate, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a path to the left when you go up.
Right. Yeah, the first time I was there, we were doing Chuck Williams documentary.
Did you go over the dry creek and there's another whole trail the other way?
I saw that trail, but I didn't do it that time.
Well, we did because the creek bed was dry, so we went there all the way over that way. I didn't feel anything there though.
I've been there when it's been dry. I've been there when it's got moving water. Mm-hmm. You know, the works. But the thing about the location was, like I said, the first time I was involved with it was during his doc when we were filming that day. Mm-hmm. So we had 3 film crews, and we had 3 groups of people, and I was part
that's a lot of people. Did anything happen? Probably not.
we had actual EVPs, and in the corner of it would have been the northwest corner where the new fence joined the old fence, is where that they called him. They didn't call him a slender figure, but they says he's tall and he's like a shadow figure.
I've never seen that.
And that's where he hangs out. And so that was going on, and we got back, and the way they did this was really interesting because they went ahead and they gave each of our groups, we had 3 groups, and each group had a map of the basic cemetery, and it showed our route where we were going, and if something happened, we would put a little check mark there, and we would put what it was, whether it was an EVP or something that we saw, or something was moving. And at the end, when we walked through, before we really filmed it, all these papers went back to Chuck Williams, and it was Dale Kaczmarek who ran the group. And what they did was they took a total of what the 3 groups had come up with, and they took the best, I think it was 5 spots that we had during the primary or the preliminary investigation, and they took those, and those were the ones we concentrated on when we filmed.
What kind of EVPs did you get?
There were voices.
What were they saying?
I can't remember. That was like 9 years ago.
I remember every single voice I heard at that place.
I would love to say that I remembered it, and I'm not going to make something up because that's not the way to be. And it's just that I heard it. I heard it when they played it back, and we were moving so fast, you just couldn't stop and say, "Hey, can I hear that again?" You know what I mean? Because it was just, if the film crews wanted to get going, and it's getting dark. And
see, I like to that's why I go by myself, because I can take my time.
Well, this was a big production, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
the last time that I went there, somebody had vandalized it some more.
Oh, really?
And somebody's always messing with it, and I had my recorder going, and I said, "Wow, just look at this place, what they did to it again." And I got an EVP of a woman saying, "It's a shame." So I'm getting intelligent EVPs. And then, years ago when people used to live there, they used on Saturday night they used to put this wooden dance floor down there, and they would have a dance on Saturday night for 10 cents. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They used to have picnics there on the week on Saturday night. They would have a dance. They put a dance floor down.
In the cemetery.
Yeah, in the cemetery. Well, because all the houses were there. People all lived there. That's why you need to know your history when you go somewhere so you can ask the right questions. And I said, well, you know what? It's Saturday night. Are you guys going to have a dance tonight? And I heard a woman say, we'll be dancing. So it helps to know your history so you know exactly what kind of questions to ask.
We all were down the road. You know how we would park across the street at the Forest Reserve, and we were all set up, and we had everybody that was involved, and there were chairs there, and there were tables there, and whatever we would need as far as bug spray and snacks and pop and water and that. And we were all sitting there waiting to get going because they had to film the lady that they were using as the Madonna, because they wanted to film that part to just give them an idea of exactly what had happened and what it looked like in real.
I've never seen her. I kept hoping.
And we were all doing that, and this lady came down. She came down the little road there towards the cemetery like a jogger, and she went into the cemetery, and everybody was up there except them filming. And it wasn't even 10 minutes later this woman comes out. She's got a bunch of incense lit, and she's going underneath her legs and around and she's running down the path like she was trying to get rid of something. And
there's nothing bad there.
Well, that's not what she thought, obviously.
She probably just saw something. She probably saw something. I've never felt anything bad there. Everybody's happy there because that was their home.
Yes.
Except maybe the gangsters that got thrown in the pond by Al Capone, but that's another thing.
You think that really happened?
I don't know. They found guns in there.
Yeah, I know they found guns.
Heck, they could have buried them in the cemetery. Who knows?
Yeah, they could have been just a drop, just a place to get rid of the pistols. But that was something that I found extremely interesting. Is the fact that you did that documentary with him, and he still hasn't finished it, Chris.
Oh, now he knows what it was, but I didn't want to interrupt him while he was filming.
No, I mean, has he published it?
Yeah, he put it on YouTube like the next day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's been out there. Yeah.
But you're of the Native American heritage, and you worked with him, and you did a lot of consultation with Thomas Cornwall. Cornwall, his books. They are here. Central U.S. UFO and earthquakes and UFOs. What was the one about the earthquakes and UFOs?
That's kind of a strange book. He was trying to see if places where there were UFO sightings, if that was also where there were earthquakes.
Like a correlation between them?
Yeah. But he didn't find one. So
I know your books, you have some fantastic books, and you have, like you said earlier, you have 12 now.
Almost.
I know your UFO encounters and abductions. Were you taken?
No.
Now,
I've seen things.
I know that there's been a lot of these books, and I'm not going to mention everyone. We're not going to go through everyone. I just had that one picked out because I found that interesting about that the correlation between UFOs and volcanoes and that and or earthquakes
Yeah.
and all the ones that came through. You know, as far as abductions are concerned, and that the the ones that I really started catching on to was the Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm.
And I remember when you were going to start last time you were on, I think you had been there 1 year already, and you were going to go back the next year, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. Could you describe that to everybody that's listening in right now, as far as what you thought of the place?
I haven't been in the ranch. I remote viewed in the ranch.
Okay.
I've been up to the gates many times. Last year, my friend and I were sky watching by the gates, and I got some really cool pictures of the Big Dipper that's almost touching the top of the mesa and the Aurora Borealis. Didn't see any UFOs that night, but that was cool to get the Aurora Borealis and the Big Dipper.
Well, that's amazing, that part.
Mm-hmm.
I think anytime that anybody gets the opportunity to get close to a place like that, from everything they've shown on TV, which I don't know about, I would like to talk to a person like you instead and say, hey, because you weren't on the property at all then?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
A little piece of Ghost Adventures that showed a gentleman that we both know that had said that he wanted to go up on the hill across, and I don't know why I missed his name up right now.
Hmm.
He was. They said, "Well, are you going to come with us?" Or no, he says, "No, I can go up there. I'll go up there and, with a flashlight and tape recorder." And he was up on the hill, and everybody thought he was going to get abducted because things were really flying around that night a little bit, and it was like trying to go ahead and figure it out. And I think he was up there for over an hour by himself. Dave Schrader.
No.
How the heck can I forget Dave Schrader?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. But I did. But he told me that story at one of the last events that I was at with him. And I had said to him, I said, well, weren't you afraid of being up there by yourself that close? Because you were the highest point around on top of that hill there. And you had Skinwalker was down there across.
Oh, he was up at the UFO campground. That's where he was, that hill. Yeah.
So it was like nothing happened. And he said, no. He says they were all afraid of going up there with me.
Now my friend owns property that overlooks the ranch, and I've been to his property many times, and you can look down the hill and see the ranch from his property.
Have you ever seen anything unusual at night looking down at that?
Well, I was only there during the daytime.
Oh, okay.
I'm going back out there in August, and maybe I can go to his place at night and see what's going on. There's a lot of strange things that happen on his property too. It's not just contained in that area. The whole basin. Like Caleb Bench told me a story. He's a county or deputy for the county, and there's this road, this little I think it's Route 40 that you got to take to go to Vernal. and I had to drive down there 3 hours. It's this winding road in the mountains. These big tankers are coming through, going so fast. You're so scared, just get away from me. And I always thought it was creepy when I was going by there, and I didn't know why. And there's a little stretch right before you get to Vernal, and it's called a UFO highway. And I said, why is it called that? He says, well, he goes, one night, one of the deputies was coming from Vernal, and another was coming from the other direction, and they kind of pass each other in the middle. And the one was coming, and all of a sudden, this saucer-shaped craft flew right down in front of his vehicle, almost hitting him. It was hovering in the middle of the road. And then it just took off down the road. And he starts radioing the other guy saying, you would not believe what I just saw. And the other guy says, yes, I would, because it's over here now. Now, I'm driving down that road at night by myself. I don't want to see that. It was right on the road.
when you wouldn't see it, you remember who Woodrow Derenberger was?
No.
Does that name ring a bell?
No.
He was one of the authors, a gentleman that was involved with when the Newkirks did Hellier. And he was one of the authors that was brought up because what had happened to him was way back in the 60s in, I want to say it was Kentucky. And that there was a gentleman that was called Enrid Cold, who was not from this world, he was driving along, and all of a sudden this UFO came up right next to him and sort of just cut it in front of him and had him stop.
How rude!
And he got out of his car because it was like, who the heck do you think you? And this guy came out of the spacecraft, looked like anybody else, and said who he was, and he said, my name is Ingrid Cold, and I came to talk to you. And Woodrow, it was like, wow, this is really crazy and all this stuff. Well, that was a sighting that was he created 2 books on this. And it was like John Keel. Okay, Mothman Prophecies. Mm-hmm. It's all that same area that goes down and around, the triangle between the 3 states. And I found it amazing because of all these guys that had these wild stories, and they swore by them. And it's like the way things are today. Who knows? I mean, I fished professionally for muskies for 15 years, and every year we would have a tournament in Kentucky. And it was it would be, if you look at it would be on the eastern side of the state, and it would be right next, Moorhead was the town, and they had a university or college, and then they had Cave Run Lake. And 40 miles from that spot right there was where this town of Hellier was, that they based this series that they did for 2 years. And the thing that was amazing about it was we'd be out getting ready to fish a tournament, daybreak, and they'd always play, the Star Spangled Banner, things like that. We'd have a radio on the boat, in each boat. They would do that, and we'd all be standing up with our hats on our chests. And the banter that went on between like myself and guys from Kentucky and West Virginia and everything, and they would start out with, well, you guys got that damn Bigfoot. And I said, no, I think he's down here. He's down here. Nope, nope, we ain't got him. We got the Grays. We got the Grays. And I went with this one guy after we fished one evening and went over by where his house was. And he had the hills behind him. And behind each house, they had a cave that's where they got their coal to heat their homes.
Okay.
And that's where they started saying that's where the Grays came out of. Kids had their toys in the backyard and everything, and these Grays would come out in the middle of the night and they'd play with the toys. So he's telling me this, and I'm like going, yeah, okay. I think you need to quit the alcohol for a while.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea, but anyway, that's part of that same line of stories. It's all interconnected now, where before everything stopped, and now it all seems to be interconnected. Do you find that to be, for the things that you've been investigating and looking into, do you think that seems to be the major theme, is the connection?
I think so, and it's because more people are aware now. Instead of just walking around on their phone or just walking real fast, I look around at everything. I'm always looking in the sky. I'm always finding cool stuff on the ground.
You find messages?
I find fossils. I find feathers. I find coins.
What kind of feathers do you find?
A lot of bluebird feathers, woodpecker, hawk. Been a lot of hawk feathers lately. I don't know why that.
Those are brown and whites?
Mm-hmm. Crow feathers.
Do you keep them all?
Yeah, I got them in a box.
That's great. Now, you're also a freelance journalist,
Mm-hmm.
which I had caught up briefly the last time we were on and never really got into it. But it says here that you have a column that's called the Carter Files.
How about that? It's for Paranormal Underground magazine.
Where does one go about getting the Paranormal Underground magazine?
Just go online and you can find it.
Okay.
Go online and she has the link there and it'll go right to the page. It's free.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. And, it just goes to show, how many things you can keep in one's head.
Yeah, just type Paranormal Underground magazine, and when you look at their page, you'll see the link to go to the website. You can pull up the new issue and old issues.
Because it also says, the ChicagoHauntings.com, iHeart Magazine, and Body, Mind, and Spirit. What is the connection with Body, Mind, and Spirit?
It's a local magazine from Michigan. It's like a metaphysical magazine.
Okay, I was going to say it's probably
it's a local one printed from Michigan. It's a free magazine too.
Do you think that out of all the books you wrote, do you have two favorites?
I think Chosen is probably my favorite one because I didn't plan on writing it. I just woke up one morning and something said, you need to write this story. I don't know who was telling me that. And I wrote that really fast. It's like something was telling me to do it.
That is amazing. I know that, we had also talked about an old friend of ours that has passed.
Mm-hmm.
And, you with your abilities, and I was at the point where I was already working with my mentor, and I considered Dr. Chuck to be a mentor to me too in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a lot of people that are still very sad today to have lost him.
I know, me too.
And
We used to talk to each other almost every day.
yeah, he always used to tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
I say, "How's she doing?" "Oh, you mean Cheryl?"
Yeah.
He's,
Either I would call him or he'd call me. We're almost every day. Yeah.
were you one of the closest with him out of the group?
Probably.
Did are I don't should we talk about the group because of the
If you
people
want
he
to. If you want to. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. That's sad.
okay. So why don't you tell the people about the group?
It was called Project Psi, and we would work on. We started out working on cold cases. Then we were
There's
doing, yeah.
there's there's
Then
a
we
group.
would do missing person cases.
What do you miss the most?
I miss doing those cases.
Which the cold cases?
In any of them, I just
Any?
miss doing it. And I still do some. If I see somebody that needs help, I'll work on something. But I just miss doing it because he actually had a connection where he could go to the police with information. If I get information, I can't go to anybody. They're gonna go, "Oh, psychic, right? Sure." Because
You'll
I
be
I
able
remember I went to the police one time, and I'm sure the guy thought I was just nuts.
either that or they put you down as a suspect.
Well, I went to I was going to Illinois one time to visit my sister, and she says, "Oh, this woman in this next town is missing." And I says, "What?" And so she showed me her picture, and I says, "Oh, well, she's dead." She is. I said, "Yeah." I says, "She got in a she got in an argument with somebody that she knows real well. It was a man, and he killed her." And I says, "I can't exactly tell you where she is, but she's like face down in the ground, and it's dark there. But I see the word water. I don't see water. I see the word like it's on a sign." And she says, "Well, there's no water around there." I says, "It's on a sign." She's very specific telling me it was on a sign. So I get to Illinois and I call the police. And I says, "Well, I don't know if you believe in psychics." "Yeah, go ahead, what you got?" So I'm telling him. And I says, "And I know you hear this all the time about somebody being by water." I said, "But she's not by water." I go, "I see the word water like it's on a sign. There's no water there." Like 3 times he told me there's no water there. I said, "She's not in water. She's not by water. There's a sign." And I'm sure he didn't write anything down. He just goes, "Thank you." I'm sure he didn't write anything down because he probably, if he would have listened to me, they probably would have found her sooner. Well, what turned out, there was this little town, country town, and you know how they have the drainage ditches on the side of the road.
Right.
Well, one of the neighbors saw this guy out by the drainage ditch, and he had all these bags of dirt, and he's covering the drainage ditch with these bags of dirt, which he thought was very weird. So he called the police and said, "This guy's just acting weird. I don't know what he's doing over there." And they went over there, and they found the woman in the drainage ditch upside down, just like I said. I didn't know she was in a ditch, but she was upside down in a dark place. And it was her brother-in-law's house. Buried her right in front of his house. Not too smart. And it was right next to the town water tower. Water on a sign.
Wow.
Which I hate when I just get bits and pieces, because I didn't know it was a water tower. That would have helped. But sometimes the spirits don't always, they just figure I would know that it's a water tower.
You think sometimes they give you too much credit? The spirits?
Well, that's what I mean. Because it's like, I'm not by the water. There's a sign. Well, I just say what the sign was. But see, the police wouldn't even listen to me because I'm psychic, yeah. And and he probably didn't even think twice when they found her by the water tower.
So you're going to go back. You're going to go back out west again.
Mm-hmm.
How much time are you going to spend out there this time?
Probably about 4 days, like last time. Not too long.
Does that give you enough time to really feel the ground and everything?
I'm going to an event out there, so.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
Which event is it?
The Moon Lake Gathering. It's in Duchesne.
I wouldn't know where that is.
It's a little town in Utah. It's a little town in Utah. It's
they
like
have a lot of
it's
people
like
go there.
like an hour and a half from Salt Lake City. But it's a little town. Yeah, it's an event, but Bigfoot, UFOs, treasure hunting. It's gonna be cool.
Have you been to any other places trying to see or get some glimpse of Bigfoot? I know you showed me, and I just thought of it right now. You showed me some casts of some people.
That was Florida that I went last January.
That was a Bigfoot, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How long was it?
How loud? I didn't hear it.
How long? How long? Was it?
Oh, geez. That had to be a good 14, 15 inches. There was a group of us. We went. This is weird. They says we need a psychic to go down with us. They didn't tell me what we're doing. So I said, okay. So I remote viewed to the area. They didn't tell me even where I was going. I just started remote viewing. And I saw a spirit that was in trouble. I says, oh, that must be what they're going to do. So we get down there, and we're staying at this couple's house. Beautiful house. Now, I never been to Panama City before. I thought Florida was all beaches and palm trees. This was all evergreens. I thought I was still in Michigan. And they had this beautiful house in the middle of the forest. And they had all glass around their living room. You could look down into the ravine. And that's where she was getting all those casts down in the ravine there. And where we saw those tree structures. So the guys, I brought some of my equipment with me, and the guys had a lot of recorders. And so one night, I could have shot them. One night, they had the recorders out, and the next day they're playing them, and the one guy goes, oh my gosh, listen to this, something was walking around my truck last night. And we're listening, you could hear heavy footsteps, and they'd be loud, and then soft like they're walking away, and then loud when they come back. And he goes, somebody was walking around my truck. And then he turned around and looked at the number on it. He goes, no, that's the one that we left down in the ravine last night. Well, guess what was walking around? I said, did you have a trail cam down there? No, we didn't bring any cameras. They could have caught it walking around. They had no cameras with them.
How far from the water was this?
There was no water down there.
Panama City?
Oh, from Panama City? I don't know. I didn't see any water where I was, so.
I mean, it sounds inland, but I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have a good friend that was in the military with me that lives in Panama. His whole family lived outside of the town of Panama City.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the name of it, but it was there were uncles and aunts, and the
Yeah.
whole entire family was
Yeah,
out
like I said, I
basically.
didn't know I was in Florida because I didn't see palm trees and beaches or
Yeah,
anything.
no, but what you described exactly was just like where they lived,
Hmm.
because there is a lot of pines, and it's hard to
Big,
believe.
big, tall, old pines. Yeah,
You know,
just something
very,
Bigfoot
very,
likes. Yeah.
very beautiful type thing. But that's really interesting. If I am going to call, I'm going to go ahead and talk to him this weekend, and he's out in California now.
Hmm.
And he was an old officer friend of mine in the military during Vietnam, and uh, we talked every once in a while, and had the opportunity to spend a lot of time together when we were off. And there were like 4 or 5 of us, and he was the one of the most interesting ones for being a basically a Florida boy,
Hmm.
because they know a lot and they learn a lot, and it was really great. I know what you've been telling everybody tonight has been very, very interesting, and I sure hope that everybody's been paying attention, because there's going to be a quiz. No, there's not going to be a quiz. But anybody, uh, what I do, what I want to do before we start to get ready to close down is I want to mention some names of the people that are in here. We've got Jenna Galaxy in the Starry Sky. We got some prankster off of YouTube that's been in here, that's been making these sly comments that I don't appreciate at all.
Oh, somebody
Uh,
just said I'm delusional. Oh well.
well, that's one of the ones that's
I've been
that's
called that before. Whatever.
no, that's not right. But you've
Whatever.
got
I've been
Anton
called worse
Ritter,
things.
and then you got them and Paranormal Rock Downs in here. That's going to be a big event that's going to be up here. I can't remember what month it is anymore. Maybe I should go ahead and look at my calendar if I get a chance. But anyway, there's that the comments have got me a little crazy right now. But Jim Feister's there; he's here too, and so when you're going to go ahead and get everything together for this year, and you're going to spend some time out there, do you have any other locations that you want to go ahead and are you going on any investigations, paranormal,
I don't know if
real?
I don't know if I am or not.
Well, don't you have anything over there by you in Michigan?
Yeah, but I haven't done anything. I used to go up on the USS Edson.
Is
See,
that on Lake?
I've been on that like 7 times though. You know.
Is that on Michigan? On Lake Michigan?
No, where is it? I forgot what lake it's on. And I've been on the USS Silverside so far on Lake Erie.
Okay, that's a submarine.
Yeah, that thing's haunted.
Yes, it is.
It was so cool. We were taking turns going on the sub because it's so small. So 2 of us were sitting down there on the little table, and we're trying to do an EVP session, and we hear somebody running down the metal steps. So we got up and said, just say, who the heck's coming down here? It's our turn. And when we looked, we saw this pair of legs running down the steps. Nobody, pair of legs running down the steps, and then disappeared. That was pretty cool. Now, we weren't expecting that, so we didn't get any on film.
That's awesome. I know there's been everywhere I go when I get close to water. Like I have a daughter that's up in the Bellevue, Washington area, just north of Seattle.
Hmm.
And I had the pleasure of meeting Ross Allison, who is the guy that owns Spooked in Seattle, and he does tours of the destroyer that's in Bremerton, which is right on the other side of
Wow.
Seattle, where the big Navy, it's like a Navy base. And the name of the destroyer was USS Turner Joy, and she was commissioned in 45. So she had one uh, run before the end of the war, but her what she was known for was the fact that she was in the Gulf of Tonkin during Johnson's time, and she is the destroyer that was hit from supposedly a shore battery in Vietnam, and it went through the back deck right off the back turret and just missed the magazine by like 4 feet.
Well,
And if it would have hit the magazine, the whole ship would have went up. So she did that. That's and then we went into Vietnam because of the Gulf of Tonkin. That was the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, I think it was. And then after that, at the end of the war, she was still out there that whole time for all those years, and she kept on going back and forth. And she was the one that was direct support for the evacuation of the embassy when we were leaving Vietnam, when they were taking everybody out of the embassy, and they had those helicopters on top. And
the,
she
the,
was
the
so that
USS the USS Edson used to go to Vietnam and pick up people and bring them back too.
what was she, like a freighter, or what was she? Did she have guns?
That's her name. Three big guns, no waiting. Yeah, big
Three big.
cannons. Three big cannons. Yeah, that's their motto. Three big guns, no waiting. And the one time that they went out there, they got hit, and the Vietnamese thought that they sunk the ship, but they got it back here and they repaired her, and she went back out again to pick up more men. And when they saw the ship coming, they thought it was a ghost ship, and so now she has the name the Gray Ghost of the Vietnamese coast.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that is really interesting. But a lot of people that are, if you're listening, that's pretty cool
I'd
because
like
there's
to get
not
into the history of all the haunted locations. It's like I said, you know what kind of questions to ask so that the spirits will talk to you.
right. That works. When when Ross Ellison talked to me about staying overnight on the Turner Joy, it was like, boy, I had to go ahead and start getting up on the history
Mm-hmm.
like that. But he pretty much there when you go over and see her, and there's self-guided tours, and I brought pretty much my family from over there. So I brought my grandkids, and we were all over the ship. What was really interesting was I got to go up to the helm on the bridge, because my father in World War II, he was a helmsman, and when he wasn't on the helm, he would have been on anti-aircraft guns
Mm-hmm.
that were outside of the bridge, and they were sunk off Okinawa. And what I didn't know was, out of that whole conflict at one island, Okinawa, there were over 20 destroyers sunk there.
Well,
That's a lot of men. It's not like an aircraft carrier or anything like that, because you figure there's like 300 guys on a destroyer, but
Yeah.
still 300 by 20, that's 600 men. I think it is, isn't it? Or no, it's 6,000 men.
No.
I think I had to add another digit to that.
And the one time when I was on the ship, they have some stuff in a display case, and there was a flare gun in the case, and I just had my recorder going, and I got an EVP of somebody saying, "Ready, aim, okay." So I don't know what that was about, but
So that was a signal flare.
yeah. But I mean, I just standing by the gun, and somebody was that just residual that was on the gun, or was somebody standing there trying to explain to me? I don't know, but that was kind of cool.
Have you been on the Silver Sides?
Yeah,
So what did you think about that?
I said
I know
that,
you said you
that's where the guy was walking down the
with the
steps.
table.
Yeah,
How long inside the ship were you
probably
the whole time?
half hour because we were taking turns going back and forth.
Do you know any of the history of the Silver Side?
No, but they didn't like a woman being there. They were letting me know they didn't want me to be there.
Yeah, because it's pretty hazardous duty, to say the least, I think.
Yeah, they just women don't belong here. I says, oh, we're just visiting.
So do you want to mention about CE5 and everything?
I haven't done that for a while either, but
Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know? There might be quite a few people here that don't really have an idea what CE5 is about. And
CE5 means close encounters of the fifth kind. And that's where you try to initiate contact with something. And there's a group of us that would go to the same place all the time. And I can't say that I've ever seen anything up in the sky, but all kinds of things appear around us. We're right by some woods. And I've been in those woods in the daytime. Every time I go there in the daytime, I walk in the woods, I felt nothing. But at night, things come out of the woods. And especially when we're using singing bowls. Because, singing bowls leave out vibrations and it calls things. And we're in a circle, and I'm facing the woods. My friend's sitting next to me. And the singing bowls are there, and all of a sudden, it's like somebody turned on 2 flashlights in front of the woods. But they had to be really big, because they had to be like the size of big soccer balls, because it was so far away and I could distinctly see these lights. And they started moving back and forth, jumping up and down to the music, going back and forth. And I'm trying to tell people, I go, look, and they look over and they go, and they're looking up in the sky. I said, there's nothing up there. It's happening right in front of us.
they came down here.
And, I got pictures of it on my FLIR, and I didn't think about putting it on video so we could see them dancing, but I do have many pictures of it. And as soon as he stopped the singing bowls, it was like somebody turned the flashlights off. Now, what was that? I don't know. It's pretty darn cool. And then another time we're sitting there, and I had my tri-field meter sitting on the ground, and my friend had his sitting on the ground. And we looked down, and it was like a hand reached over to touch my meter. I got a photo of this crazy claw-like hand. And my meter went crazy. Yeah, I mean, what was it? Or times that inside the circle there were lights on the grass. It was completely dark. Why would there be lights on the grass?
Now, CE5,
you don't always see things in the sky. You could attract things that come right on the ground to you.
they could be quiet when they're coming down and then show up on the ground.
Who knows if something was in the woods and it came out?
What did you think about, I'd have to phrase it a little differently.
Hmm.
Dr. Stephen Greer.
Mhm.
Have you ever met him?
No.
Is he a person that you'd like to meet?
Yes.
Do you
Would I
think
want
he?
to would I want to go to one of his CE5 events? No, because he has like 100, 200 people. I like a small, intimate group. Because like when you're investigating, you get different energies around you, and nothing happens sometimes.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be in a big group like that because we've done our CE5 sometimes where we just let random people from the street come and nothing happens that night because they're there to be entertained.
So you do you do this close to your house?
No, it's about an hour from my house. No, it's out in the country.
That's really interesting because I've been talking about this
You
with
got to go out.
someone.
You got to go out in the open where there's no city lights and stuff. So now you know what you're looking at up in the sky.
That would be, like where I went to school when I was up there, in Houghton
Hmm.
and Hancock. There's nothing up there but trees,
Yeah.
but there's big clearings that
Well,
you
just
go
you
in.
need wide open space. So if there's something's going to happen, you're going to see it.
Did you ever get the feeling that they were going to be there and then they didn't show up?
Yeah. One time, do you know who Ricky Butterfast is?
But
He worked with Stephen Greer. He's from Colorado. And one night we were going, and my friend says, "Oh, they're coming down to film a documentary." Oh, cool. Okay. So I'm telling the producer all the stuff that I had. I'm showing him my photos and stuff, and he's just like, "Yeah, whatever. It's not an alien, so whatever." And it's like nothing happened that night because you had the full film crew there. You think something's going to happen like that? You're supposed to just sit in your circle and be quiet,
and
concentrate.
you all have to have the same energy too.
Right, right. And you got a film crew there to, like going, come on, perform. And nothing happened that night.
I don't know if, like you said, perform, if
But I think that's what they wanted,
it's a
or
communication,
show yourself, or
communicate.
yeah. No,
You
they
know,
wanted to see. They wanted to see.
I've been chomping at the bit to do that. And, maybe this summer or towards the fall, if my one grandson is going to be he's going to Central Michigan.
Yeah, so take your equipment with you. Have you got a
Well,
tri-field.
I'll be in contact with you ahead of time, and maybe
Yeah.
we can
You have a
date.
tri-field meter? Take your tri-field meter with you. You got a FLIR?
No, I
No?
don't have a floor or a tri-field. I do a lot of spirit box work. Ever
Yeah.
even way back when
Get a
we used to.
tri-field though. It's really good to take a tri-field places.
Okay, but it's been great having you on. Once again, it's been awesome. I am very, very grateful that you were here tonight, and there's people in the room that have heard nothing but accolades from me about you. And that's the kind of thing that I think we need to carry your type of work.
Thank you.
It's the most important. And you're one of those people that came from a group that's going to be known probably for centuries for the work that you guys did, and how successful you were.
Like I said, I still try to do it on my own whenever possible.
Well, Cheryl, it's been awesome, and thank you very much for being here. And if you guys have any questions, I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Go ahead and put them in the comments for Cheryl Lynn. And Lee Warner says in the UP by Escanaba.
I know where that is. Yeah, that's way up there.
And I do too. But even Houghton and Hancock are above that, though, right? We're way up in the.
Yeah, I haven't been way up in the Thumb. I haven't been up that far.
Jenna says she's. I'm also in Wisconsin. That's good. I'm about that close to the border.
Yeah.
In northern Illinois. So
I'm that close to Canada.
that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here. It doesn't look like anybody's going to ask any questions. So if you want to hold on, and then I'll come back and we'll talk in the back room. Okay. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. It's really been great having you all here. I know it's a hard thing on a Friday night to go ahead and take the time. And you guys did a good job of trying to police up whoever that whatever he was. I was not going to say that name, but you all have a great evening, and it's great to have had you here. And you had a great guest tonight. She's a wonderful lady, and she has a lot of great information. So welcome to everybody, and you guys all have a great night. And thanks again to Cheryl and Cotter.
Sure.
For having a great show. So we're gonna do this and